Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with some snack habits. Bye. Bye. Welcome back to Gunners Collective TV. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like and subscribe. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun is kicking. And I highly appreciate the support, man. Thank you. I'm very humbled by it. So let's talk about these ex-mobsters turning influencers, right? Influencers, content creators, ain't nothing wrong with it. If you want to hear stories about prison, if you're into the prison genre, if you're into all the drama, the treachery, the distrust, the disloyalty, the loyalty, the canalismo, a little bit of everything, then why would you turn away from guys who really lived that life? Ex-mobsters, people that were associated or affiliated or a part of and made members of certain organizations within the California prison system or any system, okay? It's not necessarily a California thing because Texas has their own thing going on. You know, Washington, Florida, New York, Georgia, all these different states have different mentalities and different prison organizations. And if I myself as a consumer of prison content, if that's what I'm into, which is what I'm kind of into, you know, I want to hear these war stories. I want to hear about the disloyalty and the betrayal, because that helps me in my life to realize that I made the right decision, to realize that carrying on with my life, I can mean something to somebody rather than being a nothing to a nobody. Okay. Now, again, I've never been the type to poison anyone against these prison organizations. I respect them. Okay. Anything I've ever done in my life, anything I've ever been associated with or a part of, I made the conscious choice and the decision to do that. No one forced my hand. No one, you know, there was expectations, but again, at the end of the day, it was up to me as a grown man to make the decisions that I made while incarcerated. You know, I've lived a life that most people think about living or want to live until they really see it. Okay, once you see some of the things that I've been accustomed to or I've seen, you have second thoughts. That's a guarantee. That's a must. You know, I see this guy, Boxer Enriquez, Boxer Mendoza, Mundo Mendoza, all these different guys that were once associated or a part of a criminal organization, what we would consider ex-mobsters, right? Doing content creation. Now, Boxer Mendoza has been doing it for a very long time, you know, and he has a pretty good channel. I mean, why not hear it from the horse's mouth is what I've always said. That's why I tuned into his channel, not necessarily anymore because we have personal issues as far as, you know, our idealisms and what I'm trying to get out of this content creation and what he's trying to get out and so on and so forth. Let him do him. I'm not worried about it. I'm definitely not fearful or anything of what he's got going on or what he can say about me. One thing for sure is I respect where he's been and what he's been through according to his stories. Now, when it comes to Boxer Enriquez, this is one of the most intelligent individuals I've ever come across as far as, you know, and I've never met him in real life. I've never done time with them. But as far as watching the way he acts, his mannerisms, the way he carries himself, his morals, his integrity, the things he does. Now, I get it. I understand, man, when we're talking about these guys, the one thing these three individuals, and I'm only going to stick to these guys, have in common is that, according to the streets, they went out backwards. Okay, they chose to, for whatever reason, step away from the gang life in a certain fashion. Now, there's a lot of people that step away from the life when they finally wake up and realize exactly what was going on within them. Okay, I'm not here to say all gangs breed hate or chaos or treachery, right? I've been around a lot of solid dudes that have good morals. They have good family values. They'd much rather be there with their family, but they made a commitment and a decision to associate or be a part of something, and they're willing to rock till the wheels fall off. That's cool. See, back in the days in the 90s, and that's my era. That's why I can only speak on what I know about. That's a fact, right? Back in the 90s, there was a different form and fashion of gangsterism. Okay, everybody can be a gang member, but not everyone can be a gangster. But there was a lot of gangsterisms going on. There was a lot of individuals with heavy, heavy influence indoctrinating people and manipulating people and spreading false propaganda to people to get them on their team, which everybody always considers themselves the winning team, the home team, the team that's going to outlast everybody. Now, you can take it for a grain of salt or take it for what you want. No added preservatives, but I'm going to give you some knowledge you can't get in college. Nobody's winners. Anytime you're facing a lifetime of incarceration, nobody won. Who wins? Maybe the administration, but at the end of the day, they don't even win because they don't want to do paperwork. They don't want to deal with you on a daily basis. They don't care about the drama. They much rather go into a prison setting and system, do their little time because they're doing time amongst you too, right? Working, do their job, and get the fuck up out of there. Okay, those of us that lived on the other side of the tracks, that were actually the ones that were incarcerated doing time, not one of us were happy to be there. Okay, we did what we had to do for two things. One, for the integrity and the values that we believed in within our gang and our groups and our organizations. And two, because we were always under the gun. We were either under the gun from the administration, the COs, the tower, the gunner, right? Or we were under the gun by our own people. A lot of us made choices based upon our safety and security. Let's be real. There was not, it takes a psychopath or a sociopath to really go into prison and want to do pegadas and removals and stabbings and killings. A lot of guys that do that are because they are striving to get tipped up, or they are striving to be a part of something that's much bigger than them. So they're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. They're not only sacrificing the people they victimize, they're sacrificing themselves. For the greater good is what they believe in. And a lot of them, it's for clout. And a lot of them, to be totally honest with you, is just to be that man. You feel, I guess, a sense of power when you're in a position of power. Now, I've noticed a lot of these ex-mobsters are doing content creation. And I myself, I was incarcerated a total of 19 years, from a youth all the way to an adult. And I programmed and I functioned within the Norteño movements, within regiments, within groups on the streets. These were the people I was associated and affiliated with. And a lot of their secrets and a lot of the clandestine things that were going on, I'll never speak upon because I'm not in a position to do that. And it's just not the right thing to do. A snitch is a snitch, period. You can never shake that. And when you're considered by people that, when that is not your character, that's a pretty harsh reality to deal with. People are going to feel and say what they want to say about you because they're protected by social media and by gang members. But at the end of the day, it's the man you are and what you know, and your integrity is what keeps you going. So there's things myself I will not speak on. And that's just because I was raised a certain way and educated a certain way by real solid dudes that didn't want to see me get caught up in the bullshit, even though ultimately I did. And that was not because of what they told me or what they said, but because of my own actions, because of my own big mouth, because of my own wanting to be the man or wanting to stick to the grain or the design that I was educated on. You guys know my story. For those that don't, tap in, you'll find out. I see Boxer Enriquez is starting a new channel. Him and Mundo, they have a channel I've been watching quite extensively. It's pretty funny, man. Some of the things they talk about, and it's pretty real. It's absolutely real, right? And the coming together of those two minds I saw a long time ago. I knew eventually there was one day that Boxer Enriquez would take to doing social media. I'm sure this guy has a lot of stories to tell. Maybe it's part of, what he's got going on as far as helping him. It's like it's like medication to him. It helps him with dealing with post-traumatic stress, I'm sure, and helps him. And it helps him let people know, the tragedies and the treachery in prison. It's his way of giving back to, for everything that he's done, I'm sure. Now, I've had no conversations with this guy. I've had no talks with him. So I don't know exactly what's going through his mind. I could only wonder, and just like anyone else, and think, why is he doing what he does? There's money in this. If people want to hear your stories and you got stories to tell and you're respected, then people are going to listen. So, he's starting a new channel, and I'm going to definitely tune in. And I'm sure a lot of people are, because just like Sammy the Bull, just like Michael Franchise, just like all these other ex-mobsters that were a part of a group that people either aspire to hear about, or be about, You've never lived that life unless you've lived that life. Now, I could tell you stories about certain prison organizations. I tend to shy away from that because, one, I don't know the facts because I never was part of that. So for me to tell you would be secondhand information and a lot of bullshit. There are people that do. There are people that act like they were the cucaracha in the cell when the fucking pegada was being masterminded, right? That's drama. That's bullshit. They're feeding into their own ego and making them feel like there's something they're not. You can never be a part of something you weren't welcomed into. Now, Boxer Enriquez, Boxer Mendoza, Mundo Mendoza were welcomed with open arms into certain prison organizations. Okay, the reason myself, Dubs, other people that are in my circle that I fuck with don't like to speak too much upon these organizations is, for one, we've lived a certain life around individuals that were part of that, and we understand the true meaning behind what they're pushing. Two, it's a safety and security concern. Let's just be honest. Why are you going to speak or disrespect people talking about their shit if you don't know nothing about them? I know back in my days, man, if you spoke on someone and you didn't have to be a gang member or anything, and you were talking about him and you didn't know what the hell you were talking about, he was going to pull up. He was going to check you. He was going to let you know exactly how it felt. Since you want to talk about it, well, now you got to be about it. Okay, I see Mundo Mendoza has been doing his videos for a very long time. And a lot of the stories that he tells are very intriguing, captivating. The way he tells them, he's a great storyteller. And knowing that the man behind the mask, the man behind the blurred out splotch on his face, the man behind the bandana, or the what do they call that now? The shiesty, actually lived the life he's talking about. So when I hear him tell these stories, you know, I'm hearing a veterano that's really been around the way, trying to tell these stories to influence you to get away from the drama, because he knows deep down inside, most of you guys are not cut out for it. I myself wasn't. See, I'm very transparent. I'm not scared to tell you that eventually I would have ended up on the other side regardless, because there was always something about putting a knife in a man or sneaking up on a guy and, you know, catching a dude slipping that always didn't sit well with me. My mentality was face to face. I'm trying to see you. You know, those let's take that fade, or you want to come see me. The guys that sneak up, do these pegadas, stab you in the back, whatever. I understand why they're doing it, why they're told to do it, what's the outcome and the reasoning behind it. Sometimes there's good reasoning behind it. Actually, when you're in prison, it's all about survival to the fittest and whoever's going to remain dominant on that yard. But when it comes to sneaking up on a person or removing them, unless they were an SA or some weird shit like that, yeah, get rid of them by any means necessary. But if it was someone who just had fucked up or had a drug debt or things like that, I felt like what we did as people was sneaky, or what I participated in, right? And it didn't sit well with me. So eventually, the type of person I am, I'm a very vocal person. I would have asked why and the reasons behind things. And I did several times. And ultimately, man, it was my demise. You know, asking why drugs were being used on the yard when we had strict rules at that time not to. Bam. Now, all of a sudden, I'm the piece of shit dropout king of YouTube, right? But really, deep down inside, people that know me, that know that I was bamboozled and basically fucked, right? No diddy. Now, I'll say this. When I hear Boxer starting a new channel, Boxer Enriquez, right? One of the most intelligent speakers I've ever heard. I'm not going to say he's the most intelligent person because I've never met him. There's people that, you know, you can't be considered super intelligent if you were incarcerated half your life. Doesn't mean you're dumb. It just means to even continue that incarceration by doing things in prison, regardless of the reasoning behind it, doesn't make you a very intelligent person. Now, he speaks very eloquently and intelligently, and anyone could do that, but maybe not at the level of Boxer. He studied. I'm sure he was a part of an organization in the hierarchy where you had to be very descriptive with your words and charismatic. He has very good character, and that's it. Now, there's a lot of people that I see on his videos. They watch him and they show him support and they show him respect. They respect the gangster mentality. They respect what he once did. He's no longer that. He's now a civilian just like anyone else that happened to be in prison and actually function in an organization. Now, I understand the people that want to respect that, but I actually got into it with someone the other day online. Didn't really get into it because I don't do them type of things, right? But this guy tried to check me about Boxer Enriquez. Boxer and them, they did the mob spot. They got their own channel, him and Mundo. And I made a comment. And I said, I've heard that story before. You know, that's a verified story. Like I heard it from an old school norteño back in the days. So hearing it coming from the other side or from the southern side, right, was just like, wow, what that dude was telling me was facts. And I believe in Boxer and I believe in Mundo, and what they say is truth, right? They're not going to sugarcoat or bullshit you. There's no reason they don't get nothing out of it. Okay, but so I put that, and this guy said, hey, why are you over here? You're a degenerate. These are real ones. And I was like, we're all in the same position. We're all civilians. We all lived or played a piece into the puzzle of life while incarcerated or gang members. But I'm the piece of shit because I don't have as much bodies or I don't have as much credibility as guys that did this. And I said to myself, you know, there were certain situations I was involved in that these guys were not involved in. And there was a lot of situations that they were involved in that I wasn't involved in. And there's no comparison here. I'm not here to argue and try to compare. Oh, I'm just like them. I'm just like them. I'm not one of those guys chasing clout like that. They were monsters. They were the absolute most elite in California at what they did. I respect that, right? Again, I don't fear that. One thing about me for sure is I know my credibility in the life I live. So I wasn't going to argue with this guy. I told him, okay, yeah, go ahead and get yours. And he said, man, you shouldn't even be on channels like this. You're not up to par. I'm active, this and that. What the fuck was he doing on them channels? As an active gang member, you guys already know because I used to push the propaganda myself. I used to tell all the little homies. See, I was not new to this. I was true to this. I used to say, never acknowledge someone who's on the other side. Never get into a shouting match or disrespect or bump baking soda breath on the door. You're not gonna win. Okay? But he continued. He continued, and so ultimately I just left because I wasn't trying to hear that. I had other things to do, like cook a ribeye steak. You know, I'm trying to eat lean, mean protein, man, for the diabetes. So I got other things to worry about in life rather than arguing with someone who proclaims to be active but doesn't show his picture and is over there on a channel promoting individuals and talking highly about guys who basically left what he believed in. I didn't understand, right? Again, no disrespect to Mundo and Boxer Enriquez. They're just doing their thing. They're not fucking with no one. They're not arguing with people. They're carrying themselves how they're supposed to, how you're really supposed to, you know, which is the way I tried to do it until all these fucking punks try to get in my mix. I've always tried to do that. I try to carry myself with a little bit of respect. Now, when it comes to these guys being influencers, from convict to influencer, I understand it. Who can tell you about prison better? Who can try to deter you from making them fucking wrong decisions? These guys got the resumes, right? Even Boxer from Paradigm Media, he has the resume. He has been incarcerated the majority of his life. He does tell you true stories, albeit some of them, you know, he jumps the gun a little bit. But I understand as a content creator, you always want to be the first one to have breaking news and put things out there. It doesn't mean his stories are untrue. His fighting stories are untrue. That's untrue. No disrespect, Box, but that shit was untrue like a motherfucker, right? But as far as, you know, the places he's been and the people he's met, I don't believe they're untrue. I believe they're righteous, real stories. So, you know, if you're into the gang lifestyle, if you're into hearing about prison, these are the channels that I tune into because these are the guys that I know have really been there. You know, a lot of people ask me, and I'm going to answer a question real quick. They ask me about Dubs. They always ask me, hey, how did you and Dubs come together to do lives and how did this happen? And I've told people before, and I'll say it one more time for content purposes. We got about 4 minutes left. I used to watch Dubs, man. I would be in the shop working. I came across him, his mannerisms, the way he looked, the way he acted, the way he sounded. These were people I was used to being around. These were the Southsiders or guys from Southern California. I myself in the 90s was used to being around. Okay? So that intrigued me. Damn, what's this Vato talking about? I listened to him. I used to put my headphone in, do my job. And the stories he told were facts, were truth, was exactly how it was when I was locked up. So I was like, okay, this guy's a real one. Not meaning he's a real one because he was locked up or he murdered someone or he was a gangster, but he was a real one because he went from lifer to changing his life. And I respected the shit out of that because I was in the same mix. Maybe not a lifer. I was doing it on the installment plan, but we had a lot of similarities. We were both in the youth authority. We both caught a murder case. We both went through trials. We both did a lot of things that were similar. So I kind of gravitated towards his channel. Now, as I started to go on his lives and send money and participate and support him, Somehow we got into contact. I don't remember how. We had good conversations. We became friends. And then we started to work together in content creation. I try to help him out to build his channel. He helps me out daily. That's about the gist of it, man. We're good friends. You know, I got him if he needs me. And if I need him, I hope he got me, right? That's it. Now, when it comes to these other guys, I've had no interactions with Boxer Enriquez nor Mundo. I seen one time where Mundo was asked about my channel. He gave me respect. He said, man, I'm hilarious. Different type of character. Of course, I'm not the typical version of a gangster or an ex-gang member that people are envision when they see me. But that's the mask, right? I don't want you to. There's no need for you to know the things that I know or understand some of the things I've been through unless I express it to you and tell you. It's my life, right? Just like it's your life. I encourage you and I implore to you. And that's why I tell my stories, not to glorify, and I'm sure they don't tell their stories to glorify either. We do it, most of us, with the intentions so you could understand it's not all fucking roses and smells like rose petals on the other side. It's a lot of boredom, a lot of being institutionalized, a lot of doing the things that you necessarily don't want to do, but you understand you're under the gun. If you don't do them, that's your ass. That's just the truth of the matter, right? So as far as these mobsters turned influencers, it's happening now. Social media era, you're going to see a lot more. You know, it was only a matter of time before people like Boxer Enriquez, you're going to continue to see it happen. You're going to continue to hear these stories. But there's only so many stories we can tell you. A lot of these stories are repetitive. You know, you hear new shit like Renegade Media. He'll give you the intricate extra details into certain things. And if I questioned him on things, I'm a hater. I'm a punk. You're just mad at him. No, absolutely not. See, I've been doing a lot before he started doing it, right? I respect his get down, but there's just certain things and certain elements in life that if you were not a part of that, shouldn't be talking about it. Okay, that's just cut and dry. No hatred there, just let's be real. You know, when there's ongoing investigations, and you know you have details, you beat around the bush because at the end of the day, you're not trying to help law enforcement bust anyone, because then you're a snitch. If you're putting out details just to be the man that put out details on certain crimes that are still ongoing investigations, you are a dry snitch. There's no questions about it. I'm not calling Renegade Media a snitch. I'm saying in general, people know that, right? If something happens, if there's a murder in prison, we could talk about, oh man, someone got hit. Whoop-de-whoop, this is the guy who allegedly hit him. But you shouldn't go into the details. Oh, they hit him because he was transporting this for that, and this fucking member of this fucking organization called this shot, and that. That right there is like, bro, what are you doing? You just want to get whacked, huh? Anyways, mobsters turned influencers. You're going to notice it happening more. I don't put myself in that category. I was never that. You know, I was a regular Norteño doing my time. I was associated to a certain degree with status within a regiment. That was it. Okay, as far as functioning at the highest levels, I didn't, but I functioned around. I'm going to be doing some newer videos coming up soon on some of these conversations that I had with people. We'll get to that. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Let me know what you think. Are you into the mobster turned influencer? Are these the channels that you really want to watch because you know that the stories are facts and they really live that life? Or are you just in it to hear any prison story? Let me know. The gun. Bang, bang. I don't want to say too much, man, because then they'll say, oh, you're a hater.